this one is now near and dear to my heart because I wish this shit was around when I was still doing my career as an MMA fighter and as a boxer. The BKFC Bare Knuckle Fighting Championship, right?
Yes, and it was
KnuckleMania 5 was a couple of weeks ago.
It was KnuckleMania, man. This is their big one.
In Philadelphia, in Philly. And I had some skin in the game with this one, right? We'll get to that. I had some skin in the game. Obviously, one of my best friends I grew up with, but we'll talk about that later. But one of my favorite female fighters of all time from the UFC, I was a huge fan of her all through the UFC, Beck Rawlings, right?
What an image, man. What an image she has, dude. And a ferocity? What's the word I'm looking for?
Ferocity?
Ferocity. What a ferocity she has. We
don't fucking know English. I don't even know if that's a fucking English word.
I think it is.
Oh, but she's a fucking monster, bro. And watching her come into the BKFC and take on Taylor Starling at KnuckleMania 5, that fight was fucking amazing. Now, there was another female fight on that card that I think won fight of the fucking night, the way they went at each other. But these two, I couldn't do anything but root for Beck Rawlings. Fucking great damn fight. She was, I would say, in my opinion, her stand-up has come like leaps and bounds from what it was in the UFC. And the way she lit Taylor Starling up, who Taylor Starling just like, demolished one of the other BKFC women in her last fight, right? Beck Rawlings just put on a fucking show.
It looks like listen, I missed it, but it looks like it was completely unanimous.
Oh yeah. Full on unanimous decision, right?
Mm-hmm.
I don't think she lost a single fucking round the entire fight. And you should have seen Taylor's face was lit up, bro.
Oh man. That is one of the
lit her up.
That is one of the hardest things, man, is seeing a woman's face, in my opinion, when they get that bad as Kevin Owens, man. It's hard to watch, dude. Because here's the thing, especially with bare knuckle, like there's a level to this game, or shall I say, there's levels to this game when it comes to
100%. Yes.
Like you got pro wrestling, where I'm not going to say how they get their blood, right? And they have that stuff happen. And then you have the UFC and boxing where they have gloves on and it can get pretty bad and people can get cut. But bare knuckle, man. Oh my God. It doesn't take more than a few seconds, more than like one or two hits. And it's terrible.
Because like for me, obviously, I did MMA for years. I did boxing for years. I have taken shots from some guys that have made it to the UFC, have made it, and there was an old fight club down here where I'm from. And it used to be called Toad Holler, which is where the main event of that night got started. We'll get to that. But Toad Holler used to be this little fight club on the south side of Des Moines, Iowa that you fucking went to. We were sneaking in when we were 16, 17 years old. And I was like 17 fighting a guy that was like fucking 30 years old, drunk off his ass, getting in a little boxing ring inside of a bar with a bunch of drunk idiots. And you're just fighting. That's what BKFC reminds me of, man. Like, that's what this shit reminds me of. And I wish this shit would have came around while I was still fighting.
Somehow it's sanctioned in a few states. And
look, the original UFC obviously was all bare knuckle. UFC through whatever. But I mean, now it's fucking sanctioned in a bunch of states for bare knuckle.
It's mixed martial arts now, right? Where back when UFC initially became UFC, it was different flavors of martial arts going head to head.
No fucking weight classes. Yeah. Hoist Gracie fucking fighting a guy that's 400 pounds.
Yeah, dude, and destroying him.
Yeah. Fucking shout out to Hoist Gracie. Fucking the Gracie legends, baby.
What a goat, man. And that's the crazy thing. And I think that's why BKFC is getting all the kudos it can, is because you turn it on and it is the purest form of boxing there is. Because
100%.
The fights in boxing nowadays, they can feel fixed from time to time. And the thing in bare knuckle is you go to sleep with one punch. Like there's no gloves on, so it is a
speaking of that shit. One of the other fights.
Yes. Speaking of going to sleep, dude.
Going to sleep. Hey, Ben Rothwell. This motherfucker, the heavyweight fight.
Oh man.
The title.
The big boys, dude.
Oh my God.
Extra thick.
I met Ben at a show. I want to say it was in Kansas City, Missouri, years ago. This is when he was still in the UFC, and he was still, like, and the dude's fucking hands. You think they're big on TV? This dude's knuckles are like this much fucking bigger than mine. Like, they are gigantic.
It's wild, man. I have a guy in town he's actually a bouncer at a bar, and he was on like one of the seasons of Tough for the UFC. And he was coached under John Jones, and he actually made it to like one of the semifinal rounds on TV. And then they gave him like a 1-fight contract, right? So I see this guy. I'm out at a bar one night in my 20s, and I see this guy. And this guy fought light heavyweight. So he fought 205, right? And I know this is totally like going a little off the rails, but and I shake his hand. His hand wraps around my hand. His head is like twice the size of mine. He's probably 4 inches taller than me. And he cuts down to 205. And I'm like 260, dude. These guys are built different. Like he is somehow carrying less weight. And he's bigger.
Massive.
Like he's just physically bigger. It makes no sense. It makes no sense. But anyway, back to Ben Rothwell, man. This guy,
Mick Terrell.
Okay, yeah, and Mick Terrell. But I listen. The only reason I'm saying Big Ben is because Big Ben is the focal point. This is his coming out party, bro. This is his coming out party. He never got what he deserved in the UFC. Never. And so finally, man, he found, just like Mike Perry, found a home in BKFC.
He's now in a sport where heavy hitters have every fucking shot in the world, because they're not able to take you down. They're not able to try to fucking submit you. You're just going balls to the fucking wall, throwing fucking punches. And when Ben's fucking hands are the size of a fucking goddamn cannonball coming at your fucking head, well, Mick Terrell found that one out the fucking hard way real quick. That son of a bitch got hit. So, and the fact is, like, Ben sat back like this. He was just kind of
distancing him, measuring him.
And then just a big boom. Fucking drop this son of a bitch.
Laid him out
hard.
And
like,
not only did he just lay him out, and he was as stiff as a board, 36 seconds. 36 seconds, dude. I mean, it is
heavyweight fucking champion. I mean, he's fucking, it was disgusting, bro.
And that's what I'm saying, man. I mean, kudos to him in finding the right place, because it just shows, man, not every place is right for you, you know, and when you find it, you'll know. And he found it. He was in the UFC 10 years ago, right? Yep. And just like
you gotta think of the fucking stable he was with in the UFC too. Like he was in the stable.
Oh my god,
fucking heavyweights.
Alistair Overeem, Brock Lesnar, Cain Velasquez.
So I mean, he never really got the shot to show what he could do with his fucking hands, because a lot of times, a lot of Ben's fights, he was taken down on the fucking ground.
You're right. He was taken down, and that's where mixed martial arts is a totally different ball game, and it's a totally different flow. Where Big Ben, man, his hands, that's all he's ever needed, and that's
all I needed now. Yep.
That's how he was in the UFC. So it's right time, right place, and kudos and congrats to the veteran Big Ben. You know who else is a veteran?
Ooh, say his name. Say his name.
Eddie Alvarez.
Oh, fuck you. Fuck you.
No. So Eddie,
little fucking heated Stevens.
Yes.
Fucking say it.
Oh, we had Eddie Alvarez versus Jeremy Stevens, man. For I believe another BKFC title.
No, it wasn't for the title. It was now they're talking about Jeremy getting a title shot.
Gotcha.
Eventually.
Well, the BKFC world's a little weird, because I know Mike Perry has had a belt, and I don't know if they've used them like trophies or they've actually used them like belts. I know they're starting to move in that direction, but for a long time it was like whoever won the main event, they would get
it's a belt now, because Ben got his.
That's what I saw, yeah. And so it seems like they're moving BKFC, into divisions.
Now, the way this was, especially with KnuckleMania 5, it was in Philadelphia. Fucking Eddie Alvarez is from Philadelphia.
Yeah,
so it was like, and there were so many Philly fucking fighters on that card. So many of them, especially the Southside Philly guy who got knocked the living fuck out of at the right his mouth at the weigh-ins, bro.
The best part of this entire thing with Jeremy Stevens and Eddie Alvarez is Conor McGregor, in my opinion. Conor McGregor shows up because he owns part of the company, and he's right there, and he is just he is fiending to be a part of this thing, to have the attention on him. And it's funny because, like Logan Paul said in one of the most recent episodes of Impulsive, Dude, he can't even do his main job.
Right.
Connor can't even do his main job, dude. He's side questing. He's side questing over here.
Worry about fighting.
He's not doing a damn thing, dude.
Fucking millionaire. Why the fuck does he need to fight again?
He's not going to. He's proven it. He's not going to. He's not going to in BKFC. He's not going to go fight one of the Paul brothers. He's not going to go fight a UFC. I mean, he may, for the right money and the right person down the line, may come back for one fight in the UFC, but other than that, Dana's got him tied down. He ain't going anywhere.
I see Jeremy Stevens knocking him the fuck out in the BKFC anyway. Because listen, here's the thing about Jeremy Stevens and why I got so fucking excited. As you know, I'm from fucking Des Moines, Iowa. I grew up with this motherfucker. I played baseball with this fucker. We went to the 1600 World Series together as an AAU team, right? Like, I've known him my whole life. I literally pulled this son of a gun off of another fucking dude at the South Des Moines Little League baseball fields back in the day. Like, I've seen how fucking hard he hits. I know how fucking hard he hits. So he's a veteran of the UFC since he was 21 years old, bro.
Yeah,
he's now 38.
That's crazy.
Like, he was in the UFC for so fucking long, and he had gotten his shots over and over and over again, right? But in a world where you've got wrestling, jiu-jitsu, judo, Muay Thai, all this shit combined, now the fucking Southside Pride fucking comes out and gets to fucking just throw his hands like he used to. I was fucking excited. I knew Eddie Alvarez was gonna get his fucking jaw knocked in.
The best part to me is like
fucking broken.
Yeah, dude. Eddie's done. Eddie's done, and he's got nothing else to prove. I mean, let's be honest. I think he's in it because he loves it, and a lot of these guys don't know when to stop, and now it's time to stop.
Well, no respect to him. I fucking respect him. Fuck at him. He's one of the best fighters of all fucking time.
But at the same time, I mean, you think of Eddie Alvarez's run, dude. He had a 10-year in Bellator. He was a champion in Bellator, and then he moves over to the UFC and becomes champion in the UFC. Right? Has one of the biggest fights, one of the biggest knockouts of all time. Again, gets knocked out by Conor McGregor. Right? So, and then is able to find success in anywhere he goes. Bare knuckle, he found success in. So. He beat Chad Mendes in the last BKFC, so he's had success everywhere. There's nothing left, and it hurts to watch somebody like that who has been around that long get knocked out, especially when you see how ferocious Jeremy is. Jeremy is so nasty when he knocks somebody out, and that's what he's always been known for. And
the biggest thing about him too is, like, people think it was all fake the way he runs his mouth. No, that motherfucker's been like that since we were kids.
Yeah,
like that is 1000% who he is.
Oh, I know.
He will run his mouth to you. He doesn't give a shit.
Well, if anybody doesn't know, this is the guy who Conor McGregor made that amazing meme with.
Who the fuck is this guy?
Because at the time,
you find out. Fucking sign the contract. Man.
Yes,
get your ass knocked out too.
That would have been an amazing fight at that time. I do think at that time Conor would have won because Conor's the hype around Conor at that time. He was invincible, right? I think the only thing that really shut down Conor was Khabib. And I think that put the statement, like, you can't fucking win. You can't beat and it wasn't just Khabib. It was Khabib and the rest of Khabib's people that were coming into his whole fucking
goddamn camp.
That literally moved into the UFC and took over, so
Jesus.
And I don't think, I mean, it's a crazy thing that with Conor, it's funny to see him still in the limelight, and you see him there and he's like the third guy. He's like literally more hyped up than Eddie was or Jeremy was in the way and in the stare down. And I'm like, this is just weird, dude. Like, I don't like it because I want the attention on Jeremy and Eddie, and I've kind of lost respect for Conor in that regard because it's like he's just a loud.
He has to have the spotlight on him. That's he's got to have the spotlight on him. He was like that in the UFC, so what was going to fucking change? Nothing.
Yeah, nothing. And he's got money now, so he's everywhere.
Yeah. But BKFC was fucking awesome.